All right, here we go. Good evening and welcome to another edition of Showtime TV. I'm your host, Omar Rashada. For the whole month of February, all my shows are going to be dedicated to Black History Month. And today is the first show of the month celebrating Black History Month. And I'll have very strong topic with some very strong brothers joining me live on Facebook Live, Facebook, Zoom Live. Well, it's going to be four gentlemen that everybody knows in the community. They're very popular. That's why I'm so honored to interview these gentlemen. You have Corey Priest, you have Haneef Salaam, you got Thomas Tommy. And gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Showtime TV.
Good evening.
Good evening, Omar. Thanks for having me.
All right. Okay, so the topic.
Good evening.
All right, so the topic of discussion is life after prison for African American men. I want to start off with we can start off with Haneef. If I'm going to ask you, gentlemen, if it's too personal, you don't have to say what you did, but just say when you went to prison. And basically, what was it like for a sentence when you were in court and you were sentenced and the judge said, "Bam, you're going to serve this much time." So we'll start off with Haneef, and then go to Corey, then go to Thomas.
Hey, good evening, man. For me, my initial charge, right, I was caught with like 26 caps. Even though I was hustling in the 90s, like at the time, 26 capsules of cocaine. So when they charged me with 42 grams trafficking cocaine. So originally, my bail was sky high, so I had to sit 30 days for a bail reduction. The bail got lower, I bailed out. And honestly, that being my first charge, once I got a lawyer and it was weighed, I was given an opportunity to get the diversion program. But me, with having a non-caring attitude, I never went to the program, never did anything, never signed up for anything, and as a result of that, I got introduced to probation. So from 1999, when they caught up with me in 2000, like I couldn't get through the probation system. I was violated every year after that, might be home for, 3 months here, 60 days there, for the next like 4 years, all the way up until 2003. So, although I didn't get stuck with a heavy charge, the probation system robbed me or took, 4 years of my life.
Okay. All right, Corey.
So the question was, what did it feel like in court? So in 2008, I was locked up. Got caught with 65 pounds of weed. And so I thought they'd probably give me the diversion program or some boot camp. That's what I was aiming for.
Right.
And so, my lawyer was saying that they're going to recommend 30 months. And I was like, all right, cool. I was like, but my charge is really a 2-year minimum mandatory. Like, I know that. I know if I got caught with this amount of weed, I would get this amount of time. And so I always stay below that threshold, just because if I get caught, then I know how much time I was going to get. But anyway, I signed a plea for 30 months. And when I went to court, the judge, and I knew I was going to get my time, right? So I kind of prepared myself. I went and bought some LeBrons, had a couple of dollars in my pocket, because I knew I was going in. I need commissary money. I had a list of numbers that I can call if I needed anything, because it's hard to remember cell phone numbers. So I kind of prepared myself. But when I got to court, I had the Honorable Mary Johnston, and she asked me, did I understand everything in my plea? At the time, I said, yeah. In retrospect, I should have said no, for all the other collateral consequences that are associated with a felony conviction, 792 of them at the time. And so I said, yeah. And she was like, well, why the state recommended 30 months? There is a 2-year minimum mandatory. Long story short, she knocked off the 6 months. She gave me a 2-year minimum mandatory. And if anybody knows what it's like in booking and receiving, then it's probably one of the most humiliating times for anybody going to jail. It stinks, it's dirty, people everywhere. And so I kind of had to program myself the moment I went in that I'm in survival mode. Like, I got to survive this time. I got 2 years. Now let me get into my mind frame on how to survive, the next 2 years in there. And so first I was grateful for the judge to knock off the 6 months. She didn't have to do that, but she saw something in me. When I went to court, I had a group of people, supporters, that was dressed to the T's, had their ties on, had their button-ups on, looked sharp, I knew to go to court with people that was going to represent me. Like, I don't want nobody going to come in there with white beaters on, slides on, balling shorts, none of that. You know what I mean? Because it matters. And so everybody told to come to court was looking like, professional business people. And so that's how when I went in, it was like, all right, I got to navigate this like I navigate the streets. You know what I mean? And that was my mentality.
Okay. And John, join us in conversation. I want to introduce Big Mahkieb Booker. What's going on, Big Key? How you doing?
Hey, what's happening, man? What's happening?
All right. Okay.
Hey,
All right. All right. So Tom, so Big Key, the question that I asked people was, what was it like when you were sentenced and when you went to that court and that judge said you're serving this amount of time? And I'm asking people, they don't, if it's too personal, you don't have to say why you went in prison, but just this how long you were there. So let me go with Thomas, AKA Big Deezy.
Yeah, first and foremost, thank you, Showtime, for inviting me once again to your platform. It's always a pleasure, and I'm going to definitely contribute what I can. My experience was very serious, and that's the reason why I wrote my book, 101 Things You Should Know About Jail, and we'll get into that a little later. Unfortunately, I ended up doing 3 different sentences, which totaled to 13 years. I did it on the installment plan. I did 2 years, and then a few years later, I did 5 years, and then a few years later, I did 6 years. All in all, just to tell you what I did, long story short, I had a little bit of violence in my past. You know what I mean? I, played with some guns, did some stuff. Nothing that I really care to discuss. I ain't on nobody's sex offender list or nothing like that. I don't got no weird charges. But the prison part of it that I care to discuss, which I like to, like when I don't glorify any of it. What I like to talk to people about is the transition that you're going to go through being behind those gates and those walls and in those buildings and on those tiers and in those cells. Life happens, as you do your time, life still happens on the outside. And I'm always now trying to deter people because this generation get real crazy. They actually just go from zero, from regular to hopeless real quick. And then they get these life sentences or they get these long sentences. And I try to explain to them that, the way that you feel when you caught your offense or your alleged offense or your accused offense, you're not gonna feel that same way 3 or 4 years into your sentence, and you might change for the better. You might find some spirituality, whatever the case may be, but none of that stuff is even relevant because you're still gonna have to do your time. And you're gonna go through many tribulations. You're gonna eventually have that one cellie who has 17 years in all push-ups, and you do have to deal with that. And that door is not gonna open, it is locked. So I'm more in a deterrent mode right now. I'm really trying to save people from having to even enter into that world, because it's a world within a world. It's a different world, and survival is definitely one characteristic that you could use to describe the mode that you have to be in 24/7. I mean, it's no off switch. From the time you open your eyes, it's on. So my thing, just to wrap this initial introduction up, is the first sentence I did was in Delaware, Gander Hill. It was fun. I was young. I was in there with the neighborhood buddies, playing cards and carrying on, learning how to do push-ups and this and that and the other. I learned zero from it. You know, it was just like going to the YMCA or the Boys Club or something. I hung out with my peeps. The next sentence I did was in a penitentiary. I did 5 years. I did 3 in Smyrna. I did 2 in Virginia. That's where I became a man. Everything that I thought I knew, I didn't. And I learned, and I had to grow up there. And when you grow up in a penitentiary and you're raised in a penitentiary and you reach your manhood in the penitentiary, your teachers are some of the best people. These are people who are completely focused, and they're withdrawn from the street, and they have real good knowledge of self, and you learn the stuff that you need to learn, not just for survival, but for life skills as a whole. My next sentence was I did 6 years in Pennsylvania. Now, in Pennsylvania, I'm stepping away from the home team, so now I don't have a cousin, a friend, a pal, a neighborhood buddy I can identify with. Now it's me against the world for real. So I opted to start studying. I ended up studying the legal system. I ended up working. I ended up studying criminal justice. I ended up working in the law library, and I also studied capitalism. I studied, business. I studied the way America really works, because I had to figure out, what am I doing wrong? And, why are these people swimming across shark-infested waters to get here and to these opportunities? And I'm sitting over here with these opportunities, and I'm not taking advantage. So I did a lot of reading, a lot of studying, and a lot of self-educating. And that's when I pretty much made the best of it. And I came home in 2010, and I haven't looked back since. So I'm real happy. This is the longest I've ever been on the streets. I've been home 11 years and counting, and I don't plan on going back. And at this point, I just want to give back. So with that, I'll swing the microphone back to you.
All right. That's excellent. That's excellent, brother. Big Key, you next.
Yeah, brother. Oh, it was weird almost when you invited me to this set, because I never did more than 4 days in Gander Hill prison, actually. But what was it, back in 1993 and 95, I caught some charges where I had to take a plea to, and I'm one of them. I can say I'm still paying victims compensation for, and I should have did time, but by the grace of God, I never did time. And the family of the victims thought I was going to do time, but it was caught up, and I can say it now. And it was domestic violence with my first wife, and when you commit a crime like that, it's a crime of passion. And the judge didn't understand at the time that we were married. So when all the evidence came out in the pre-sentence investigation during the plea agreement, the judge showed leniency on me. And I forget the name of the judge, but I never forget when he said that there's nothing you can substitute the jealousy or the rage of a husband when he's mad and in the state of mind that he's in. But with that being said, with the charges I accumulated in the streets, and that particular charge right there led me to take 2 plea agreements that ended up being a felony on my record. But I never went to prison. But even up to this day, I'm still paying the price as if I did do time in prison, as if I did come home, as if I am trying to get my life back on track. Because right now I am in the current state of building from the ground up. I do a lot of community activism work in the streets and everything. But during those times, most people didn't know that I was floundering around because I really couldn't even find gainful employment because of my past record. So even though I didn't do the time in the prison walls, I was doing the prison time outside of the walls. And I felt real funny, being around York, being around Ferd, being around Fatty, being around Wolf, being around Coley, being around KO, who even Marlo, they did that time. Mike, they all did that time, right? But it was like I was still living in their shoes because I witnessed a lot of it and I participated in a lot of it, but I never went to jail. But because of the plea agreements that I had according, to the crimes I did commit, I must say, the plea agreements, I was still living like those brothers who was in prison, even though I was outside the walls. So it's easy for me to relate to all the people's names that I've mentioned, even these three brothers that's on the show, because even right now, I'm in the process of expungement and pardon, without doing jail time. Most people in my predicament, they did jail time, but it was by the grace of God that I never stepped foot in the prison over 4 days. And that was waiting for bail money. My grandmama put up the house for me to come home. You know what I'm saying? So even in the midst of me not going to jail, I was still living incarcerated type of life. Even up until this point right now, I'm just getting my feet underneath of me, straightening out my record. The same thing them brothers is doing right now that's coming home from prison, that's the same thing I'm doing. But what kind of frustrated me a little bit was it seemed like they have more avenues and more help than a brother like me that's been on the streets for a while, but suffering the same, consequences that they suffering. Even, and I ain't gonna say the names enough, I won't go too much into debt, but I went into try to get into a program, and I'm 51 years old. The young brothers is 24 and 20 something years old. They coming into the program. I step into the program. They think I'm there to speak. I'm like, nah, I need the same thing they got. I need that hard hat and them boots and that twit card and all. And they looking at me like, okay, yeah, right, brother. They conversating about, look, guess who came here? Key came here. Key. Nigga, I need a job. You know what I'm saying? So the same things that they suffering with right now, I'm 51, never been incarcerated, I'm suffering from. You know what I mean? So that's just my little spiel on some of this stuff right here. And I'm just gonna listen from here on out.
Yeah, and I think I touched on it too, Keith, is the collateral consequences, right? That you can't get employed, you can't get your licensures, you can't do all these things just because you took a plea to no jail time, right? But you're still affected, grossly affected by that, and it's lasting. And that's what a lot of our Black men are facing, compounded by the mere fact that we're Black, right? And all these other things that are just associated with a criminal record, man. It's mind-boggling.
Hey, Corey, let me ask you a question, Corey. Let me ask you a question.
And then I want to tag in there for you.
Oh, go ahead. Okay, you went to the Department of Justice, right? So let me ask you this question, because I heard this before. I heard a lot of brothers say they took the plea. They didn't do the crime, but they took the plea because if they had been found guilty, they'd have served like 9, 10 years in prison. Do you hear those many cases? Is that very common?
It's like, so you get really you get punished for going to trial, right? You get punished for going to trial. Had I went to trial, I'd have been facing 11 years minimum mandatory. So I knew I was going to take the plea. I looked at the loopholes, but no loopholes in my case, and so I was like, I got to take the plea to this deuce, and I did it. A lot of people are taking pleas because they can't afford to gamble with their lives like that, and it's a gamble because you don't know what those 12 jurors are going to do up there. You know what I mean? And you like, man, I at least I can come home and see my peoples. At least I can come home and, and then some, I don't want to get into the legalities of being in a car with somebody with a gun who ain't taking their charge. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of different nuances to it, but you really get punished for going to trial.
Go ahead, Thomas.
Well, what I wanted to add to all of that, first was add to what the brother just said. There's definitely repercussions of going to trial, but the biggest issue with our people, as it relates to criminal justice, as it relates to the law and the system, is that we are ignorant. We do not know that knowledge. And being unaware of that type of knowledge, it turns you into a minority, and it turns you into almost a loser, because in a fight, it's only two people. It's going to be a winner and a loser, and you're going to be probably the loser in that fight against the system. Now, and the reason is because of I like to go to the core of things as well. I don't put a Band-Aid on a gunshot. When we can go to the core of it is because we've been conditioned and indoctrinated with Western society stuff. So we're listening to music and playing games and doing all these other things besides learning the things that we really need to know. Like if you live in America, you really need to know capitalism. You really need to know the law, because these are the type of things that you're introduced to on a daily basis. And if you're not indirectly or directly affected, your family member will be, or somebody from your community, or whatever the case may be. Now, that's just a response to the brother. Now, to what Keeb just said, of him not being incarcerated, I would have to disagree with that as well, because you don't have to be in a jail to be incarcerated. You could be addicted. That's a form of incarceration. When you don't have control over someone, you can't, when you're in bondage, that's an incarceration. So yeah, you that is jail. And also, when you're on probation or parole, that is jail. That's paper jail. You're just doing your time on the streets. You still got the same thing. You still got an officer, CO is an officer, correctional officer, PO, probation officer. You still have the curfew, just like you got to lock in and count time and all that. You got a curfew for the thing. Yeah, it's the same exact thing. They're just allowing you to walk that time off on the street. But you're definitely still doing time. Yeah, it's paper time. So don't think that because you've never experienced the behind the walls part that you've never been incarcerated. And not just you per se, but to all of us. We've all been a slave, or we've all been in bondage to something. You could have been just incarcerated into a bad relationship. It could be a lot of different things. Now, the chains and the shackles, the physical ones, again, there's mental chains and shackles. But I remember a time, just a quick thing, and I ain't gonna go too far into detail though, but I remember a time when it was almost like cool to go to jail. Like that was like hip. And, that was a complete ignorance. Just like, when people, manipulated this, like it was cool to get high, like it was cool to smoke cigarettes. Everything that they manipulated that was cool to do was completely asinine. And then as a result, you get the bad records and this, that, and the other. Now, real quick, and I'm gonna stop because I'm a talker. Malcolm X once said, he said, don't come crying to me that, that the white man won't give you an opportunity, that you can't get a job here, there, or whatever. He said, create your own, build your own establishments, create your own employment. And that's what we have to understand. We have to continue to do that. That is the formula. We really don't need anybody. We can use the resources that are available and put all our energy into that and make something happen that's very gainful, that's very conductive and productive, that's very conducive, so that's very lucrative. We can do that. But the issue is, at this point, what I see the issue is, it's a networking deficiency. People don't know how to reach out for the resources. They don't know where to go. They don't know how to access them. So there are some things, but I just wanted to stick that in there because, like I said, I can get on that microphone and go. So,
right. Let me give you a scenario. Raheem, he went to elementary school. He was labeled as a bad child. He was sent to detention on numerous occasions. Raheem becomes a teenager, 13, 14 years old. He's classified as being a troubled student, bad behavior. He's sent to Ferris. Raheem goes to high school, barely makes it. At 18, 19 years old, he gets sentenced to prison. Man, that's like a common, let me ask you, is that a common story for you gentlemen? Go from in-school suspensions, the detentions in elementary school, Ferris, junior high school suspension, after high school prison.
Yep, school to prison pipeline.
Anybody else have a comment?
Yeah, school to prison pipeline.
Haneef, you've been quiet, man. Go ahead.
I just been soaking in all the good information that's been going on the airwaves. But that's good, brother. That's definitely a common scenario. I mean, it's designed that way, right? The way that most prisons get built across the country is based off of the third grade failure rate of African-American boys. And they've been doing that since the late 70s, early 80s, when we truly seen an influx in the prison system. So, I can agree with the good brother when, we all do have choices and we do have to come up with our own, have unity and build back up on our own. But I always say we have to recognize that there definitely are systems of oppression out there to attack us. So it starts from the schoolhouse, all the way to the jailhouse. And that's why truly it's a need for parenting. You know what I'm saying? One of the things that saved me from the streets was my two daughters. Like I'm 110% invested in their success and ensuring that my children never have to experience the lack that I had that pushed me to the streets, right? Because you got to understand, whether it's Raheem or it's Letitia, right? Their school problems are really rooting from home, right? Raheem probably hungry as a mug, and by the time he get to high school, he don't even care no more. He just going to give money so he can eat. You know what I mean? Or he going to carry that gun and do something with that gun so he can eat. But if we have more adults just willing to invest in the kids, right? You know what I'm saying? That job not going to make you rich, but that job is enough to at least put something in that kid belly and be able to put some decent shoes and clothes on that young kid, man, and invest in our youth. And I feel like that's what we got to do to prevent the system. We got to invest in the youth, whether it's advocating for funding. You know, Delaware already got to pay $1 billion lawsuit because they said they wasn't proportioning the money right. They know they've been neglecting our kids. You know what I'm saying? And now the big debate is how they going to give it out. You know what I mean? While they backdoor try to find ways to include other minorities so that we don't get all the bread, whether it's prevention, putting more money into prevention and opportunities for our youth to do, because Raheem could get in trouble, but it would happen to the after school programs, the tutoring, and the community mentors that was going to help uplift him. So that is a common cause, man, and that's just part of the systems of oppression that's out to get us. But we, as a people, got to invest in our kids and like these brothers saying, be up on what the system is coming at us with so we can play chess, not checkers.
Right.
So Neef, I think, and I hear you mentioning family, and I want to. It was kind of a term that came out of some of this work I was doing with the ACLU. Instead of school to prison pipeline, is really cradle to prison pipeline, right? Before school and all the traumas these kids endure, you know, family, unstructured families, and it's all systemic, right? Poverty, this just didn't drop in our lap. Now, poverty is really a systemic issue that's been created to always keep us at the bottom of the pecking order. You feel me? And so when, if we don't have that family nucleus at birth, at the hospital, then it's quite honestly cradle to prison pipeline. We can even go further than just the first day of school.
You know, you guys mentioned family. I want to ask, why you gentlemen were in prison? Even Big Key, when you said your grandma had to put up the house, was there a sense of embarrassment and shame when your parents or your family members had to come visit you in prison? I mean, man, just imagine them being in court with you and that sentence came down. Mom could have broke down crying. Dad could have broke down crying. So let me just ask you four gentlemen, was there ever a time when there was guilt and shame when you're dealing with your family in terms of them visiting you in prison or them being in court, you know, hearing you being sentenced in prison? Whoever wants to go first, they can do it.
With me, there was never shame because York, he could tell you a little bit more about me than these other two brothers. I've always had integrity and I've always had a strong conviction in my culture. So the crimes that I committed and the crimes I didn't commit that I even had to take a plea to, my family basically knew the type of brother that I was a stand-up dude, but I fell victim to the system. So with me going there and, taking the plea because my grandmom and my mom was in court, and my sister York, who Kate thought I was never coming home because she knew the violent crime that I committed. But there was never no shame because even in the crimes that I did commit, they was still in my mind justified, and the judge seemed fit that it was justified, even though I committed the act, to not sentence me to prison. So when I went to court and sentencing and taking the plea and everything, there was never no shame. I walked with my head up. I stuck my chest out. I was willing to go wherever, the judge was going to swing the pendulum, but it just so happened it went in my favor, but there was never no shame for me.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak on that?
For me, per se, I won't use the word shame because until I'm gonna say until maybe the last 15 years or whatever, I thought that I was a leader, but in actuality, I was a follower. But I thought I was a leader. So I really thought it was all good. You know what I mean? I thought I was doing what I was doing, and it was what it was. Like I say, I was miseducated and to even think that it was cool. So no, I didn't have shame. But I want to kind of go back for a minute. What's the other brother's name that said cradle to prison? What's your name, good brother?
Corey.
Say it again.
Corey.
Yeah, brother Corey. He made a very good point. Cradle to prison. But because here's the thing, I just want to dive in the middle of that and just jump to the youth. The youth is the future. You know, the youth is the future, man, and that's a focal point because you know they are, like you said, you know, after school and stuff, they're headed to prison if something doesn't happen, if there is some intervention or some serious mentoring and stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's serious because we're all getting older, and whether we like it or not, we got to pass the ball. They got the ball now, and the youth that we have right now, they're not qualified. They're not qualified to take over. You know, they have been manipulated to wear dresses, to wear skinny clothes and stuff. They're not qualified at all. They lack everything. You know, and you know, I'm real big on the abilities. You know, I'm real big on abilities. I don't know if y'all follow me on the radio show and all that, but I'm real big on abilities. You have to be reliable, capable, dependable, respectable. You know, all of these things, and these kids are not that. You know, and unfortunately,
hey, good brother, Timeless. Can I just say something? Because I just want to
add on, but I want to finish what I was saying. But go ahead, jump in there.
Well, I ain't mean to cut you off, good brother. I just challenge the perspective because I think a little bit differently because we do have some capable youth, and I feel like right now what we have a lot of on our youth is that a culture of they're too far gone, right? They're not capable. They are too lost, right? Instead of that energy of pouring in, man, like I firmly believe that we got the youth that are capable of surpassing what we have even achieved and accomplished. They just don't have the same energy poured into them. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, well, let me finish. Let me finish what I was saying.
We didn't have a lot of people saying what we couldn't do. They was telling us what we could do and told us that our bad decisions would lead us off track. So I just, you know, my fault.
You are 100% right in what you're saying. But I just wanted to finish what I was saying, and then maybe we could see where it kind of meets at, where it parallels. I just believe that they need redirection. They definitely have the energy, and they definitely are capable if like you say, if the correct pouring into takes place. But my point is the generational disasters, the genocides that have taken place have knocked that mentorship out of the way. Most of our adults, not most of them, but a lot of our adults are either gay, they're incarcerated, they're on drugs, or they're a corpse. So there's not a good amount of role models per capita to handle these youth. So we do have to tighten up. And there is brothers like yourself and like myself and like we do have to create some things to save them. They need to be redirected. I love the performance they did during the George Floyd thing. I love that energy. I didn't look at that as negative. I love how they stood up so strong. They even got white people rocking with them. So they're real good at what they do. They're not talkers. They're doers. You know, I love the fact that they got all these little white girls pregnant and stuff. They got the Ku Klux Klan twitching over in their graves. You know, they got all the Ku Klux Klan. They got mixed babies now. They're you know, everybody's going crazy. But the generation, we got to save them. That's all. We got to save them because at the condition that they're in right now, if redirected, they can run everything. If not redirected, we're in trouble.
You know, when you tell them we're in prison, I mean, the topic of today's discussion is life at the prison for African American men. So, was there a time when you gentlemen were in prison or even out of prison where you had concern about the amount of Black men that's in prison? Because my mother, for example, when I was growing up, she was a member of the African Prison Initiative. She used to work with gentlemen in prisons. I think her and her friends also worked with the Smyrna Five back in the late '80s, '90s, whatever. But has that been a concern for you, gentlemen, while you were in prison? Have you ever sat down and said, "Man, look at all these brothers that sit here in these prisons, man. We got to do better. We got to do what Tupac Shakur said, make a change."
You know what? Oh, I'll take this. So when I was booked,
Mhm.
there's a lot of brilliant people in jail, right? A lot
Right.
of smart, a lot of intelligent, a lot of individuals, artistry, like you name it, they're there, right? And so I sat back, I had to do the CREST program, a program in which I hated. I hated the CREST,
Mhm.
but it allowed me to kind of self-reflect. It allowed me to sit back and say, you know what, when I leave here, I'm gonna be the voice of the people. Like I made it to the top of the house in the CREST. I was a number 3 man. And so I was the liaison between DOC counselors and 120 men. And so I get to come back to them and the staff, vice versa, for issues, complaints, all type of stuff, right? So I said when I left, I'm gonna come back to give back, right? And I kind of put things in motion. I had books sent in on what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a social worker. I had books sent in, I had literature, everything. And I can remember working in booking and receiving at Howard R. Young. And I had a couple cool COs who really looked out for me. You know what I mean? So everybody that left and came back was like, yo, I ain't coming back to this place no more. Man, after this place, I ain't coming back, man, blah, 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 blah. And I used to see the same jokers come back like 2 weeks later. And every time, every last one of them used to say, yo, they got me on some bullshit. It wasn't not one person that came back that didn't say those few words. And so I told myself to never tell these COs that I'm not coming back because they hear it every night, like 100 times a night. And so I told my one CEO, Smitty, I was like, yo, I said, when I come back or when next time you hear about me, you're going to see me in the paper for doing great things. And the next time I come back, it's going to be to give back. And that's exactly how it played out. I started running groups in jail after coming home. After like 2 years of coming home, started running groups, started encouraging them to come to the program. They allowed me to walk the whole jail with no rover. Like that was deep. Like 2 years after coming home, they wasn't even allowing people to visit, right? So it was a mentality change. You know what I mean? Which if you're in jail and you're coming out, you have to change your mentality, have to change your attitude, your behavior, and the cats you hang out with. So I knew I could be the voice of the people. You know what I mean? I knew I could go in and do some things inside. I knew I can do some things outside that can kind of generate a buzz that can help those guys out. And I'm doing it to this day, right? I made a concerted effort to change because I'm not only changing for myself and my family, I'm changing for the people too. And that was my mentality.
Very good. Very good.
What you were saying is absolutely good, as Thomas says. But here's a barrier. The gentleman comes out of prison, as Big Key was saying, he got a felony. He tried to get the job. On the application, it says, "Hey, you have been convicted of a felony." If he puts yes, he knows he's not going to get that job. If he puts no, he says, "I might got a chance." So he picks no, gets hired. 3 months down the line, they did a background check, and he's gone. So what programs are out there to help brothers, once they get out of prison, well, not just brothers, but there's people in general, once they do get out of prison, that they can find a job and they can make a positive change in their life. Are there any programs out here locally like that? Haneef?
You know what? Before you go into the
Okay, sure.
programs, and I'm quite sure y'all have a lot of them. That same scenario happened to me.
Right.
I was working up to the DuPont experimental station. I was working for a temp agency.
Okay.
And my 90 days was up. Everybody loved me. They wanted to hire me. But when they came back with the background check, they could not help me. And you said something about shame about the prison, you know, when he was getting sentenced and everything. But one of the biggest shames I ever felt in my life was being escorted off the DuPont experimental station property by 2 big security guards with flashing lights behind me and almost in handcuffs, even though I didn't have none. It felt like that because they was escorting me out of there. And the thing about it was, we're talking about 15 years later. We're not talking about 10 years on your application. We're talking about 15 years later that it still came up, whereas though they was like, we love you, but because of that one F on your record, we can't fool with you. And that's the crazy part about dealing with this systemic racial bias system. You can 15 years later down the line change your life, the whole 9 yards, but yet that F is still following. Now y'all can go ahead with the programs though. You can. I just want to hear that.
Go ahead, Tyler.
What's your name again, big bro?
Huh?
The other brother, not Corey, not Key, the other brother.
Haneef?
Oh yeah, Haneef. You probably are more versed on this topic than I am, but I do know at one time there was a bonding program that you could get in. Do they still offer that at the Department of Labor, the federal bonding program?
Yeah, they do, and bonding helps, but bonding is more so if an employer on the fence. But bonding is not going to get you in the door anyway. So, you know, honestly speaking, I just want to say when it comes program wise, the state has the Apex program to help you with pardon and expungements. Right. Outside of that, there's really no program, no place that I'm gonna send you to that's gonna get you around that. What programs do is they network and they find an employer that's gonna hire you with your felony. But that employer, 9 times out of 10, is gonna be paying $15 or less, right? The way it's set up in Delaware, ain't nowhere around it. It's opportunities I can't get right now with my name and credibility because I don't have a pardon or expungement. So yeah, we could get into the programs and refer people to programs, but it really comes into an individual that got a felony that had that perseverance and tenacity like Big Key, like Thomas, like Priest, like myself, people who are out here like, I'm just going to be successful and I'm not going to take no for an answer. Because if you just bank on going and get a job or finding that perfect opportunity and you got an F on your record in Delaware, it's not just going to happen like that. You got to be willing to go above and beyond or create your own lane. Like, that's just what it is. Or you have to settle for a job that's going to be 13, 14, 15 hours an hour and willing to hire you with a felony.
Okay. I'm going to add on. Me personally, back in the day, years ago, I'm talking 20 years though, but I did use the bonding program and it was very effective. And the people that was in my group of probationers or whatever, all of us, we used it and it was very effective. Also, to my knowledge, and I could be wrong because I haven't filled out an application in thousands of years, but to my knowledge, I thought they weren't allowed to put that little box on the application anymore. However, if they do put it on there, there's 3 things that you can do from my perspective, disclaimer. 1, you could put yes, you do have it, right? And roll the dice with it. 2, you can put we'll discuss. And then when you do discuss, if they decide to call you in there, you really, you know what I mean, got, kick something heavy and convincing. 3, you could put no, and try to see if you can ride it till the wheels fall off. And stuff like that. Now, what you also said about, you could refer them to places that will hire felons. That's an excellent option. That's an excellent option. So the job only pays $14.50. I wouldn't give it pays $11 because now what we have to do is respect the stepping stone. You got to start somewhere because now what they're doing, you just coming out of prison anyway, we're going to build you a decent resume. You're going to go ahead and work here for the 950, the 11, the 12, the 13, whatever the case may be. And we're going to lock you into some stuff. Now, what I'm personally doing, me, per se, here's what I'm doing. I wrote my book, 101 Things You Should Know About Jail, right? And my book is a movement. What I'm trying to do is push it off as curriculum to different organizations and different things. But anyway, the book is a two-part thing. I'm also in school right now. I'm taking up Master Barber in Cosmetology so that I can become a Master Barber instructor, meaning I can open up a barber school, which I plan on doing upon graduation. I got about 12 more months to go. Now, what I'm going to do for ex-offenders, when they come out of jail, I'm going to allow them to come through my barber school, okay? And that will give them a trade. Once you obtain a trade, now, once I allow them to become, once they become a barber, which is a trade, now the options surpass the ceiling to go right to the sky, because when you have a trade, you can do that trade anywhere in the world. You could be a barber in Guam. You could be a barber in Jerusalem. You could be a barber in North Carolina. It doesn't limit you. If you have a job, then that's just a job. If you have a career, you can still end up in the unemployment line. But if you have a trade, you're forever marketable. Forever. If you're a plumber, you can be a plumber anywhere. If you're a dentist, you can be a dentist anywhere. So that's what, here at the Time Thomas Company, that's what we're pushing. We're pushing for trades, because that's how it used to be anyway. You remember when it was industry, when the factories and all that was in the community, and the schools was teaching us trades and stuff back in the 70s, when that was the thing to do. This is why even today, when your house breaks down or whatever, and the old head, you know what I mean, it comes in, does your electrical, whatever, he's probably was born in the 60s or something like that, when he went to school and obtained them trades. You know, those are the dudes that are like, let me see, about 57 and up are the dudes that have them trades because they obtained them. And even today, they're still marketable. You understand? So that's what I'm personally trying to get back to with the people who come through my situation.
So Thomas, let me stay with you for a moment. Your book, 101 Things You Should Know About Prison. Do you see that as a prevention for other brothers, you know, in terms of not going to prison?
Absolutely. Let me give it to you in depth with the elevator spill. It's 101 things you should know about jail, with a bonus chapter of 50 questions that you should ask anyone returning from prison. The book takes you from the offense or the alleged offense to the back of the cop car, through the criminal justice system, through the court, through the county or Gander Hill or whatever state you're in, through the county, to getting sentenced to go to the penitentiary. The sentence is a 3 to 6 year sentence. So I allow you to do the 3 to 6 year sentence, the full ride, come home, and the transition on probation or parole with 50 questions. This is the bonus chapter. The bonus chapter alone is worth the price of the book. 50 questions that you should ask anyone returning from prison. The average person might ask 5 questions, 10 questions, maybe even 20 questions. But this is 50 questions that you should ask anyone returning from prison. So it's a very serious book. It's a good read. It's an easy read. It has, everybody that's ever read it has given me great reviews. It's a deterrent. It's redemption. It's prison reform. The book is serious. It's definitely a serious joint. So I'm attempting right now to get it as curriculum to Scared Straight facilitators. I'm about to introduce it to alternative schools. I'm trying to get it everywhere where it can get in. And I eventually was coming to the brother Haneef, but right now I'm dealing with these programs. I'm doing some work with one of your associates, Sister Denise Rodriguez from the Horizon House. We're trying to turn it into a play and do some other things with it, and possibly even get some stuff put on Netflix. But it's a must-have. This is a must-have, because not even if you've never been to jail, it's a great read, because after you read, I didn't leave anything out. It's 101 things you should know. I'm giving you A to Z. I ain't leaving them out. If you've never been to jail, it's a great read. And then after reading this, you can see why you don't want to go. And if you do end up there, you can learn how to conduct yourself. Because like I always say, this is my favorite example. I always tell people, you know, people always say, well, yeah, man, one mistake and you can land in jail. Anybody can. Yeah, that's true. But I always tell you that one mistake, not only will you land in jail, but your first cellie could have 17 years in all push-ups. See, it's a difference. And this could be your reality in a matter of a misunderstanding. So this is why, I put the book out. If you ever end up in that situation, you will at least know how to conduct yourself, and you will at least know what to expect. You know what I'm saying? And it's not an urban novel. This is a handbook. This is a manual.
Okay.
Yep.
Before we end the program, I'll let you know the viewers how they can get the book. So I've never been in jail, so maybe I should get it. I remember one time.
You should obtain it. You absolutely should obtain it.
I remember an older gentleman, Mr. Clarence Elliott. This is a little while back. He was about the Plumber Center, and I had no idea what he was talking about. He said, "You never heard of the Plumber Center?" I said, "Nah, man." So I told him I must have been a nerd growing up. But hey, Big Keith, you mentioned that the expungement. Talk about the expungement process. From A to Z. What happens?
Well, I'm just starting it, so I'm in the process of paying some things off, and just waiting for the process to take place. Basically, you know what I mean. I had to go down Dover, get my little records, whatever it was, come back, hand them to the person that was trying to help me out. But the thing about it is, I'm glad to be on this show, and I hope the governor, John Carney, is looking, or even President Joe Biden. You can skip all the rhetoric and the paperwork and just go ahead and full pardon, brother. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm looking for. I'm trying to catch up with John Carney right now and President Joe Biden. And I'm not trying to corner them in a tough guy or nothing, but I'm sure enough going to let them give them my spiel on why they should just straight give me that pardon. For the community work I do alone, I should get a straight pardon like that. So that's what that's.
Well,
So
Keith,
I can give an overview on the pardon and expungement process.
Yes, please do.
So as of December 27th, 2019, you can get your felony convictions expunged. Prior to then, you couldn't. You could never get your Delaware felony conviction expunged. Misdemeanors, stuff that was nullly processed, dropped, and dismissed, that could be wiped off. Now your felony conviction can be expunged. The first thing I would advise people to do is go get that criminal background check from SBI down Dover or Troop 2. Troop 2, you need an appointment to go in. Now, I don't know about
8 o'clock, so you gotta speed that thing up.
Yeah, so 8 o'clock or 8:30. So anyway, so you get your background check. You ask for an expungement background check because it would give you instructions on what to do next. So if you just get a regular background check, it's not going to give you any instructions. An expungement background check can say, hey, SBI can wipe it off for $75, or you go through the courts and they'll wipe it off for $75. The third option is you have to go get a pardon for some of your convictions. If that's the case, that background check expires in 45 days. So from the date you got that date on your background check, it expires in 45 days. So you have to go get your letters of recommendation ASAP. You have to write your own letter, and then you follow the prompts for the pardon. That means you got to do the packet. You know what I mean? And put all your criminal history down, and you send it to your 5 agencies. You know what I mean? AG's office, the Delaware State Police. There's instructions on how to do the pardon. But the most important thing is to get that letter when you get your background check, because it's going to give you instructions on what to do next.
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't just get the regular background check.
So let me ask you a follow-up question with that, Corey. Person get expungement, right? So when Big Keith goes to apply for a job and you look at his criminal record, all that's wiped out, all that's gone?
Expungement, but not pardon. Pardon forgives the crime. The governor forgives the crime in your pardon.
Okay.
But then if they require you to get a pardon before the expungement, then after that pardon, several months later, you can file for your expungement.
Hey, brother, what time are we ending?
Probably about another 20 minutes or so.
Hey, Corey, I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry. I thought we was ending at 8. That's why I was trying to cut you. I was trying to get in there because I want to put my book on. I'm sorry, good brother. Add on.
Okay.
Add on.
Okay, no, Big Keith, we talked about prevention a little bit. I saw a video, Facebook Live, a couple Sundays ago, Trippy Congo, Council President Trippy Congo, you guys were protesting on the east side, and you had an interesting conversation with 2 brothers that was standing on a corner, when you were protesting and you were calling for peace. And then the two gentlemen, I guess it had a little back and forth. Talk about what happened, and then talk about your community outreach in regards to you reaching out to the brothers in the corners or the sisters in the corners, reaching out to people in the streets and telling them, man, let's stop the violence, let's bring love. Talk about that for a moment.
Okay, we was brother President Councilman I, Sister Margaret Guy that holds the prayer chain. She goes out every Sunday around 4 o'clock, and just to spread love and the knowledge of put down the guns, pick up the love. The chant which she stole from me, she used it as her own. That's my own plug. But as we was turning the corner going on 10th Street over the east side, a young brother and a female came running up to a brother that was ahead of the march. I usually like to roll from the back so I can see a lot of things, and I usually chant, pick up the love. And I seen a young brother run to the brother that was leading the march and said, man, we don't want to hear that shit. Take that shit somewhere else, right? And York knows me a little bit more personally, and you too, that anybody that's rolling and rocking with me, if you rocking, I'm rolling. You know what I'm saying? So, and I felt kind of bad because like it's like a beehive with me. If you mess with one, then the whole hive should attack, right? So I'm in attack mode at the same time I'm trying to bring love, right? So as I get up to the corner, I tell the young brothers, y'all gonna get this work whether you like it or not. Because for one thing, I'm not gonna cower down, I'm not gonna back down, and you just ain't gonna walk over top of me. You know what I'm saying? You might walk over top of the brother that was leading the charge, but it ain't never gonna happen on my watch, right? But that's my fighter's mentality. But at the same time, I gotta fight the brothers who I'm trying to bring love to. And I can understand his misinterpretation of what we was out there doing. Because when we came, we have a police escort. So he was telling me that, man, them same police that's rocking with y'all, they the same ones that's Billy clubbing us, shooting us and killing us. And as I had to explain to the young brother that those same police that you pointing at don't even like me. Like I told him, I said, yo, young brother, I said, I go uptown and I come downtown just as easily. I said, when I go uptown, I go with an iron fist. When I come down here, I come with a twig that grandma broke off the tree. And you know what I'm saying? You still got to get your reprimand. You know what I'm saying? Because he was saying something about they're killing us. I said, but what about us killing us? You know what I'm saying? And I said it wrong too, because I said, y'all are out there doing the killing. I should have invited myself into that situation too, because it is us. If we all family and we all one village, then it is us. The ball is slipping on our watch. You know what I'm saying? So I'm guilty as he is, as much as they're out there killing. And if our generation ain't doing nothing about it, the blood is at our hands. Because like York was saying, and most of us up there, we got the knowledge and the wisdom and the understanding. But if we ain't working with them, I believe York and Haneef was saying something about the generational gap, about most of our role models are either dead or, they ain't really standing up, or they got jelly spawns or they took payoffs, or, they're dealing with neo-colonialism, the colonizer that's coming from the up top, and they're getting their marching orders to come down in the community. They're missing the march, and they never really hitting the direct problem that we're dealing with. And these are the type of things that I'm trying to spill over to these young brothers, but him not wanting to hear anything is he's missing the opportunity to learn about why things go on in our community the way they do. Because when you're young and adolescent, your mind is not fully developed. So what you think you see is not what's actually happening. Because I always say we deal with the fruit, but we never deal with the root. Like a lot of times you say, oh, we want to go in the community and we want to lock up the brothers that got the guns. We want to stop the shooting. But what about the brothers or the man that's bringing the guns in? How do these guns come in our community? We can always lock up the fruit, but until we hit the root, we always going to be dealing with this problem that we're dealing with right now. But a lot of our black so-called leaders have taken cushion jobs and scared to do what I'm doing or what I'm saying to their boss, speaking power, speaking truth to the powers that be. And these are just some of the things, I go on and on and on. But until we as people that sitting in some of these higher office and seats connect and bridge the gap with some of the brothers that's on this show and that's in the streets, we're gonna keep on dealing with these problems. And that's all I was trying to tell the young brother. But because
Tag me in, Floster. Tag me in there. Pick your flag up in the back too. That flag came down.
oh yeah, that's good.
That flag
You
up,
know
tag
me,
me in.
you know
Because
me,
because I
I'll
understand.
mess with this joint.
I understand what you're saying, and I understand what the young fella is saying too, because their minds are underdeveloped. However, everybody's feelings are valid. So, I mean, he's allowed to say that, you know what I mean? If you bringing the cop with you, you know, then it's a double standard. You saying fight the power, but you bringing the pigs with you. But he doesn't understand that it's a process, that's what you have to do in order to get your thing off. He don't understand that. He's seeing it for what it is from his perspective. He's saying, look, hold on, these the same dudes that's killing us. So you might not be able to bridge that gap right then and there. You know, it's a time and place for everything. You understand? And it's always going to be a bad, you know, apple or bad seed. And again, not necessarily was he even a bad seed. He was just uneducated as to what you was doing. The same way. See, I always like to meet people where they are. In order to meet people where they are, you got to go back to where they are. You can't be at the top of the steps and he's at the bottom of the steps, and you tell him just come on up here. Now you got to walk down to where he was at. When we was that age in the streets and the police would come around, or if we even seen an old head talking to the police from the door, we label him a snitch. We like, look, oh, he talking to the cops from the door. Wasn't nothing nobody could tell us about him. He's talking to the cops. We seen, we trying to do the hustle tussle. We call this dude a snitch. So that's the same way they looking at us, even though we're not. But that's why I say you got to go back to where they're at, just to meet them to where they're at. Now,
and actually, if you listen to that tape, that was the ending of my conversation. I said, brother, I know you think this is corny.
Yeah,
you know,
I don't even know about what you're talking about, but I can understand the scenario.
Right, that's what I was telling you.
I can understand the scenario.
I understood what he was saying. That's what I was trying to tell him. And I ended the conversation with, if you think what we're doing is corny, you think that we ain't doing it, well, brother, get involved. Show us the right way, because you got the answer. I'm saying come to the table, rap with us, so we can know what time it is.
We're gonna take it step by step, and we're gonna get this. You gotta remember though, many is called, but only few is chosen, bro. Many are called, but only few are chosen. You know what I mean? We can't save them all. You know, and maybe when his time arrives, because we all arrive at different times. When his time arrives, he might be one of the best leaders the community ever has. You know what I'm saying? He still has to go through some stuff if he lives. Now back to, because I got to address stuff as they come along, because my mind, I don't remember everything. I got to catch stuff, you know, as it goes. Again, I got to go backwards a little bit and apologize to the brother Corey, because he was really giving you some good information and I was jumping in trying to cut his wisdom short. So I definitely apologize to you, good brother. To build off of what he was saying, he was giving you the jewels about how to get that expungement. However, he was generalizing it. So the stuff that he was saying, it's in depth. So in order to really get that, you're going to have to talk to somebody one-on-one. I'm qualified to give it to you. I can tell you exactly where to go and who to, you know what I mean? Actually, the program is free. The Department of Labor does it for free. It's the Apex program. Sister Dominique Truitt, she does it for free. It takes you from A to Z. I'm in the process right now myself. And it's a very good look. And a pardon is not something that you got to ask for. It's something that you got to earn. And the way to earn it is by what you're doing. So, you know, these people go by paper, what's on paper. So long as it's on paper, what you're doing, your credentials and all that, it's good to go. And you did them felonies way back in the day, you straight. Like the brother said, you get it expunged first, then you get the pardon, and then you back in the game. So
you got to get the pardon. You got to get a pardon first. I went through the process, so I have my expungement. So I know exactly what it takes to get it.
Don't you got to get the expungement first and then the pardon?
You have to get the pardon first.
I'm going to beg to differ because I'm doing it right now. You get the expungement first, then the pardon is at the end. The government got to give the pardon.
Keeb, I left my number in the chat box. You can call me if you need to.
And that's cool, but the only reason why I got to beg to differ is because I'm doing it right now.
If they require for you to get the pardon, hold on one second. If they require for you to get the pardon for your felony conviction, you have to get that first before they wipe it off your record.
Before they wipe what off your record?
Before they wipe so my charge is trafficking marijuana, right? My charge is trafficking marijuana. I needed a pardon first before they wipe it off your record. The government has to forgive the crime first. They got stuff that's nully processed, dropped, and dismissed. They can automatically wipe off, but that's not a conviction. your conviction, your felony conviction has to be pardoned first before they can wipe it off your record.
I don't know.
I'm telling you what it is, brother.
With you about it. I want to agree to disagree because, like I said, I'm going through the process. I could
Okay,
actually
disagree.
but let's disagree to disagree.
Don't disagree, brother. I'm just trying to keep it all fun.
Oh, go ahead, brother Haneef. Go ahead, guys.
Hey, I always come from a different twist. So in closing, man, I want all your people to know.
Okay.
Your voice is silent.
You're muted. I can't hear you.
Can't hear you, bro.
Yeah, your audio.
Let me find out the powers that be just muted that brother.
No one's muted on here.
No, I said the powers that be.
Okay.
You muted.
Yeah, you're muted now. Okay, there you go. Try again now.
Can y'all hear me, good brothers?
Yeah.
There you go. All right.
I just wanted to say, man, in closing, for me, and just talking about life after prison for a Black man and life for any Black man out there, man, I just want to spread a little positivity, inspiration, and hope to know that, like, you watching a brother that has a felony on his record, that's been denied jobs, that's been caught up in the system, man, living a life of dreams. Like, to have opportunity to have a career helping people, you know, to be a public speaker, to be able to do some of the things that I'm doing and experience. I'm just an example that it can happen, man. So for any young Black man, any youth, any grown man that's just getting out, you know, life is about opportunities and energy. You know, one thing that I tell everybody is a cigarette smoker could be broke. They'll find a way to get a cigarette every day. It's the energy that you want to put into life, man. And if you want to get positive out of life, you got to put that positive energy in. If you want to have success out of life, you have to decide for yourself and your life what exactly is success, and then go get it. Put that same energy into it that you put into the streets. A lot of people don't have no problem going sleepless nights in the streets. Put this same energy on this other side, and you can be positive. And once we start building a foundation for ourselves, then hopefully we can start building in unity and unite. But for me, it's always about positive energies, going against the status quo and finding ways to work with my other brothers that are up and coming.
Okay, so Haneef, so if someone wanted to get in contact with you, how can they reach you?
The easiest way to reach me is through social media. Haneef Salaam on Facebook, Haneef YouTube on Instagram. You get in my inbox or direct message me, I'll get right back to you. If you want information on how to build yourself up, if you're coming home, or if you're fighting against the system, because I got a new role that I'm going to be beginning this year where I'm trying to go straight at the criminal justice reform laws and the very system that's attacking our people to see if we can get some progress in that area and get some things changed.
All right, I want to go to Corey. Okay, I want to go to Corey. So spell your name, Thomas.
I'm sorry, yep. Haneef, Haneef, Salaam, Salaam. Haneef Salaam on Facebook. Haneef too. Yup.
And inbox you say direct message?
Yup. And I'll get back with
you. I'm going to get at you. What program you run, brother?
Many. Just get with me. We talk offline.
I will. Yeah, we got to chop it.
Okay, Corey, you with the Department of Justice. Want to know how can people contact you? But before, I wanted to ask this one question before we end. When you were released from prison, was there a fear in regards to, oh my God, I'm out of prison, and can I get a job? Can I get housing? I'm out here in the real world now. So if you could answer that question, and then also, if someone wanted to get in contact with you, how can they get in contact with you?
So no, it wasn't no fear for me. I had a lot of great supporters. Now I had a few mentors. One is Charles Madden. You know, he's executive director of the Hope Commission at the time. But you know, he's been my mentor since I was in high school. So always knew I had the support system. You know what I mean? And so coming out, you know, I knew where to go. I knew I wasn't going to go back to 23rd and Jessup. I was going to go somewhere else because I didn't want safe streets at my house every night. You know, I kind of dictated where I was, my movements, right? But also had a job coming straight out because when I was in the press program, you know, I finagled a job at Connections and I got it. You know, so I had things set up while I was in jail. And so I had my mind made up. You know what I mean? Having a mind made up, I knew how I was going to navigate when I came home. You know what I'm saying? And I knew which direction I wanted to go in. And so one thing led to another. Being one of the best experts in reentry in the state led me to the Department of Justice. You know, now I go to come to work every day and give them a perspective of Black and brown folk in the criminal justice system. You know what I mean? Get to work on pardons and expungements and commutations. Get to work on how to resolve cases through reentry efforts. You know what I'm saying? That never happened at the Department of Justice. They hired me to be that piece. You know, so to give back, to come from 23rd and Jessup Southbridge projects, to be, you know, working in the state building with the Department of Justice has been a huge, you know, blessing to my life. You know what I'm saying? And other people that's involved in the criminal justice system that can come to me for support. You can definitely reach me at Corey Priest, CORIE .priest, PRIEST at Delaware.gov. My cell phone number is always accessible, 302-300-0153. And of course, social media, Corey Priest, Instagram or Facebook.
Say your number again, Corey.
302-300-0153.
0153. And what's your email?
Corey, CORIE .priest, PRIEST at Delaware.gov.
At Delaware.gov. And you work at the Department of Justice?
I work at the Department of Justice, yeah.
All right, my brother.
Okay, Thomas,
yeah.
Thomas, how can people get your book and let people know what station you're on every Saturday? What's your name of your show?
Okay. Real quick, you can get my book, which is 101 Things You Should Know About Jail, with a bonus chapter of 50 questions that you should ask anyone returning from prison. I'm really trying to get it, you know, in places in bulk. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get programs and stuff to buy them and implement it into their curriculum. However, I do, you know, tell it to people. You could get it from me. First of all, you can just DM me and I can, if you live in Wilmington, I can meet you somewhere and you can get it from me for $20. If you get it from the web, it's going to be $29.99 because of shipping and handling and stuff like that. So you can get it on Amazon. You can get it on eBay. You can get it on Barnes and Nobles. You can get it in Philadelphia at Black and Nobel, or you can get it from their website, blackandnobel.com, or you can get it from WeShipToPrisons.com, or you can get it from my website, WhereResources.com. And you can also find me at Timeless Thomas, like a watch with no time, like Thomas English Muffins on Facebook. And Instagram, I'm also Timeless Thomas, but as it pertains to the book on Instagram, I'm jailbook_101. And I would really appreciate if everybody obtains a copy of the book, not just for me, but because it's a real good piece, man. It's something to give somebody. It's some real good knowledge. The way I describe it, I say it's the most informative and relevant read of the new millennium. Yeah, especially dealing with this John Reed, man. It's serious. It's serious. If you got a family member that's under 30, they need to read this book, man. Because, you know, these guys make a life-altering decision in 0.2, you know. So, yeah. And again, I'd like to really thank you, man, for having me on. My phone number, my direct phone number is 202. It's a DC number, 202-798-9053. Now, every Saturday at 12 noon, you can catch me on 93.5 FM radio. I also stream that radio show on my Facebook page. You can catch it live, but you can catch me at 95.3 FM radio WHGW. And I host a show, a power hour. I host a show called Back to Greatness. And that's when I just talk about issues and problems, but I also talk about solutions. I'm a solutionalist. I only want to hear about the problem so many times, and then we must discuss solutions. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, Big Keeb, you involved with the Black Lives Matter movement here locally in Wilmington, Delaware. If someone wants to assist you with that movement, How can they contact you?
They can contact me on Facebook through Messenger, DM me, and we can go from there. But right now, I would like to get a little plug in too
Sure.
with my new tow truck service.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah. Thank you. We do battery charges, flat tires, cash for junk cars, all kinds of stuff, man. So just check my Facebook page out, everybody. And you know, one thing about dealing with me is it's going to be integrity. I told a young sister today, Kia company wanted to charge her $860 to get her brakes done.
Damn.
The price was $360 from my angle, right? And the sister tried to go around what I said and brought the wrong parts and everything like that. And I told the sister from the gate what was going to be the scenario if she didn't deal with me concerning certain things. And at the end of the day, it played out whereas though she has to go to Kia and she has to spend that $800 and something when she could have dealt with me from honest integrity conversation and would have spent $360. And so to speak, she could have saved a lot of money to switching to Geico, switching to the blow stick. But dealing with me and my tow truck company, I'm telling you, man, and anybody that knows me knows it's integrity, and that's all it is. That's all you're gonna get from me. You're gonna get 100 truth. I told the sister, go try somebody else. You know what I mean? You ain't gotta just come to me. It's other people that's out here putting in that work and check those prices and then see. And I'm just saying, when you're dealing with me, man, you're gonna deal with integrity. That's all.
Right. So my final question, I got to get this question in. I wanted to ask you earlier, so this has got to be the last question. I'm going to throw it to Haneef. Haneef, at what point did you say to yourself that you weren't returning to prison?
Honestly, for me, it was my last bit, man. They gave me 12 months for a violation of probation, which I thought was extensive. I have to do a year in jail for not committing a crime. And 3 months into that sentence, I found out that my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, was pregnant with our first daughter. So I missed the entire pregnancy and birth of my first daughter. She was born while I was at SCI work release. So when she was born, I made it up like right after her birth. They gave me, it's crazy, from SCI, they gave me 4 hours out, but it take damn near 2 hours to get to Wilmington and down there 2 hours back. So with that 4 hours, I was able to drive home, hold my daughter, and I had to leave. And the thing about my daughter, she was born premature. She was born 2 months early, right? So she was in the hospital up until the day I was released. The day I was released from jail, and I went to go see her with my wife together. They said that this baby is well enough to go home to the parents. So that right there just told me that my daughter's fate and her life was in my hands. And I felt like if I was ever to go back to jail or separate myself from my daughter, that her life wouldn't be the same. So I just did what was right from then. 2003 to now, man, I've been home 17 years, man. Started out with a job at Fridays. I've had some entrepreneurial efforts, but now I'm moving into a new position in a minute that I'll be able to advocate for legislation to fight for our people, man. So that's why I say I try to spread positive vibes, because I know it could be done. You just got to know what you want out of life and put the grind behind it.
Okay, I'm sorry. One question I got to ask. This is the last question. It goes to Corey. Corey, you know, the prisons are basically overcrowded. And with this COVID-19 piece, man, are the prisons protected in these local prisons that we have? I mean, man, because this disease is like major. So I'm worried about the brothers in prison, man. How can they follow safe practices if then you got like 8 in the cell or something like that?
Yes, it's very difficult to social distance in jail, right? Any jails is difficult to social distance. You see outbreaks. There's an outbreak. Well, at least a couple of weeks ago, there was an outbreak at Plummer Center. But it's difficult. It's difficult, and you know, DOC has done what they did. I can't say if they're doing it at peak fidelity, but you know, it's difficult for someone sitting over in these units to really social distance when you got, you know, everybody's packed in, you know. So you know, I don't know what answer you want from me, but you know, it can always be better, right? When people are dying and, you know, folks are being affected by COVID at an alarming rate, you know, figuring out a way to do it better, you know, and how to keep people healthy, and not just inmates, which are very, very important, but it's coming in from somewhere, right? It's coming in from staff, it's coming in from COs, it's coming from counselors. You know, you gotta really look at how it's coming in. But it's alarming, to say the least, that so many people is infected with COVID over there. And I get a lot of calls from folks who just don't know what to do, how to communicate with their family members, you know, what's going to happen next if they do catch COVID. Their cellie caught COVID, and, you know, they don't know if they're going to come and get tested. Like, I get those calls too, you know, but DOC runs at a different, at a different pace, at a different, you know, situation than a lot of other systems.
All right, gentlemen, I'd like to thank all four of you gentlemen for coming on this evening. It was an awesome show, packed show.
It really
So,
was.
stay safe. I'd like to thank those who are watching. So please like, subscribe, and share. All right, gentlemen, peace. I'm out.
All right, peace, y'all. Everybody be safe. Buy my book, please.